Rich, Control Ultimate Edition is out on everything this week. And when I say everything, it really is out on everything, even the Switch. But it's a little bit different on your next-gen consoles. Mm-hmm. It actually has stuff that's like new and fancy.
Yeah.
Which, as you can see here, 60 FPS, Rich.
Oh.
So we're going to run through... I did a little bit of a look at the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X version just for comparisons to show how different it is in terms of visuals. Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously, just a reminder of the frame rate. It was okay on those consoles, but not perfect, as you can see by that massive lockup there. So yeah, I mean, it's worth saying that the Ultimate Edition on the PS4 Pro, well, on the PS4 and the Xbox One, is just the last gen edition with the DLC.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
This is the next gen though, and this is graphics mode, which is all fancy with ray tracing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At a fairly solid 30. I think every so often it drops a frame here or there.
Really?
Yeah, but not anything like too frequent.
I'm surprised it would do that.
Once in a blue moon. Yeah, well, there's ray tracing and stuff like that, so I don't know whether that makes a difference. But like, it happens once or twice. That's it. Okay. And the same with the performance modes. And obviously, the Series S doesn't have performance mode. It has no ray tracing. It's just 60 FPS. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but that's that anyway. This is performance versus graphics mode, and look at the ray tracing. Look at the around the art on the wall. You can see obviously the reflections from surfaces and stuff like that. The lighting, the shadows. It's a little bit darker on the PlayStations, and I'm not sure whether that's like a brightness thing, but we left everything on default. So in these shots, they might look slightly brighter, the Xbox versions. But like in terms of the ray tracing, as we go through the first 5 or 6 shots, you see the differences. But look, on the PS5 and the Series X, graphics mode, so like I'd say fairly solid 30, and fancy ray tracing.
I think the colours look nicer on PS5.
But I don't know whether that's like a capture thing.
Right. Okay.
But like, I love this shot because obviously we love a bit of bush on this,
of course.
But if you look on the sign as well, it's another kind of indication of the ray tracing and the lighting and the realistic lighting and the shadows and stuff like that. And as we work through, you'll see different kind of scenarios with the shadows and just the reflections and the lighting bouncing off different surfaces and stuff like that. It's really cool. But there isn't a fat difference like visually between performance and graphics mode.
What would you prefer? Would you plump for performance? You know what? I played the original in 30 FPS and it was all right. Yeah.
But the ray tracing, as you see as we move on, looks gorgeous. And I think you might be right that the colours are a little bit sharper on the PS5.
Yeah.
But like, look at that for the ray tracing. That's a perfect
nice
kind of example.
Yeah, I like that.
It adds that to it. And the oldest house is one of those environments that's full of reflective surfaces and crazy lighting.
Yeah.
So much so that it might actually be worth playing it on graphics mode.
It looks like frosted glass in performance mode.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you didn't really notice that because it was the same on the One X and the PS4 Pro, which we're going to see. But you didn't really notice that when you played it. But now, with the kind of the actual reflective glass, it's pretty cool. And just everything about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It looks very sexy.
It does look nice.
I almost feel like they should have waited to release this on this gen.
What really? What, the game proper?
Well, because it didn't perform great on the last consoles, especially on the frame rate was awful.
It was a killer.
Look at the reflection in this now in the graphics mode.
It's great.
You can actually see her. You can see the steps behind. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can't see that on performance mode or on the One X or on the Series S, which we're going to see in a couple of shots time. But I just really wanted to focus a little bit on the ray tracing because that was a big kind of component of picking the graphics mode. And I feel like it does add a lot to it because of the way that the game is designed.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
In terms of everything's reflective, like all the tiled floors reflective, so much glass. The lighting's crazy. Like, look at the lighting on this now on the right. Look at the graphics.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
Just the actual reflections and stuff like that. And you can see in the room 5, you can see on the desk, the shadows and stuff like that, and the proper lighting that on the Series X. On performance mode and the PS5 on performance mode, at the top of the surface is light, whereas with the proper kind of lighting, because that's obviously what the ray tracing is. You actually see different shadows and stuff like that, and it's just really cool.
Question.
And go on.
Does the map now load instantly, or do I have to wait for the map to load when I bring it up?
It does load instantly, and I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because that was one of my massive pet peeves with last gen game. But also the load times in this are fantastic. So fast travel is actually fast travel. Like, look at the reflections in this. Like, you can actually see on the graphics mode, you can actually see more of the reflections, and they're actually true reflections. Because obviously before they had to be almost painted in, right? That's how it kind of worked. Whereas now everything's done real time.
I mean, they look all right in performance mode, but yeah, they are better.
They do, and you know what? And the 60 FPS is great. So, like, it's less so the floor, but more like the kind of reflective glass and stuff like that, and like the shadows, which you'll see in a bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for it looking like, look at the ray tracing on the Series X version, the reflection in that poster,
the glossy poster.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of thing, and everything's glossy in the game and everything's shiny, and I couldn't line the shots up because the 1X version later in the game, they put some kind of cages there, so I apologise for that. But yeah, like, as you can see, like, the poster is the perfect example. It's why I left this shot in. The fact that you can pretty much see a proper reflection of what you would see if you saw a shiny poster there.
I wouldn't have expected that much detail, a ray traced glossy poster.
No, right? Yeah, and this is it. A lot of it was like, I took shots and I stood in places to try and see what was kind of saw the effects of the ray tracing and stuff like that. And obviously, posters, which was kind of crazy. So, yeah, but you know, I mean, it was a pretty game anyway on last gen, even on the 1X and the PS4 Pro. But now,
are you in the same room on that bit? Because it looks.
Oh, so it's later on in the game.
Of course it is.
Because with Ultimate Edition, I could pick up with the Pro. We didn't get played much, but the Xbox One X version, I completed. I understand. So, like, as you work through the game, central executive changes. Photos change. This office gets cleaned up. Cages get put, and operations kind of expand. So yeah, it's the same office, but different portions of the game. Here you go. We've got some swipes, Rich. We've got some swipes.
I do like a swipe.
And this is perfect. So look at the right. Obviously not for the Series S, but look at the right underneath that kind of like bamboo kind of tree.
That tree,
and you can see and like look at the reflections in the shiny floors, and obviously the reflections with the ray traced like monuments in the enclosures there. When obviously the PS5 and
the little artifacts,
it's actually like a proper reflection of like a realistic reflection. But yeah, like I say, just that tree on the right, I loved the ground in the front and just the reflections on that. I think it's really bloody cool.
You know, this is a game that I always felt had kind of next gen aspirations with its physics and everything, all of that stuff. Yeah. And I feel like now, especially with the ray tracing and stuff like that, if you do play it in 30 FPS mode, like, it looks phenomenal. But if you play it in 60 FPS mode, it performs phenomenal. So I mean, the choice is yours. But like, there isn't much of a difference between the PS5 and Series X. Maybe just the brightness, but that's probably down to the settings. That the default settings might be slightly different. The capture kits might react differently with the consoles. But as you're going to see now in the side-by-side shot, because we like a good zoom in, Rich. There's a 500% zoom coming up. Oh, we're going to see those post-it
the resolutions. Yeah. Well, this is the post-it note version, and honestly, I don't think there's much of a difference.
No,
if any. So yeah, like maybe with the Series X, just drop the brightness down, because I booted it up without the capture kit, and it's a little bit brighter on the Series X.
There was a good message in there as well. The remember to wash your hands. Pertinent.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Now look at the reflection of the lights in the wall and the back through the window. Like, you can see just all the different light sources and everything kind of bouncing off one another and creating these kind of reflections. Like, absolutely, like, fantastic.
That's great.
But like, it's never going to look. This must be the shortest time between launch and a special edition. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, has it?
Yeah.
So
thereabouts.
The game isn't going to look incredibly different, should I say? It did look, I thought, fairly incredible last gen, but now with the ray tracing, kind of takes it to a new level.
It was the frame rate that was the biggest problem, wasn't it? That was the main issue.
It was. Yeah. And they fixed that, luckily. So now you've got a solid 30 or a solid 60, depending on whether you want ray tracing or not. And to be honest, like 60's great because obviously the kind of fluidity of the combat, and it just kind of adds to all that, and with all the physics and everything, kind of explosions going on, it's fantastic in performance mode, but also in graphics mode. Just the ray tracing is just phenomenal. You'll have to rewind this, but I'm too late to mention. But the shadows underneath, like the folders and stuff like that, because everything's kind of it's real time.
Okay.
So you get shadows, whereas on the One X you don't get the shadows and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, Rich, that's Control Ultimate Edition. It's out now. I'd be a little bit peeved if I was paying on the Xbox side, but because you get it on PS Plus, like great, fantastic.
Yeah.
But like hopefully it comes to Games with Gold soon.
Sure.
But it's still a good game on the One X. So, do you know what I mean? It's hard to not recommend it on the One X anyway. But like if you want to play it again, get the Chivos. Great.
I was going to say I'd go back and do that again for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great game. That's Control Ultimate Edition, Rich. It's out now. Thank you very much for watching, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, folks. Bye.
Bye.